I had no idea how I was supposed to go ahead and start this live. So instead of doing something that is based on the fact that the market is crashing, I instead want to give you a video. No, I have a couple videos, okay, that I want to share today to give you a glimpse into the past. This is the first video. I think this video is awesome. And I think that it would be an absolute disservice if I didn't show this video right now. So let's go ahead and do that. To this, I was looking at a crypto banner show and I couldn't help myself. I know it's easy to be like, oh God, this is the worst market ever. I'm depressed. The prices are down. Oh my God. Okay, listen. Before we do the whole heartbeat and copium thing, when I got into crypto, Daddy Musk, that's what we call him, right? Elon Musk went and said, we were all cooked. Bitcoin, it's not something you want to get into because it's not good for the environment. So sell all of your Bitcoin and go buy Dogecoin because it's ironically even worse for the environment. Dogecoin is not good for the environment either. I don't know what he was going on about. But when I had heard that and I felt it in me, the degen in me, I got into the crypto market, and do you know what the price of Bitcoin was back then? It was a fraction of where it is today. Even today, during this market crash, for the guys that go, oh, we're back in 2021 prices. Yeah, we're back in 2021 euphoria prices. It's not like in 2021, the price of Bitcoin was at $68,000 for like 3 weeks. It was at 68K for like 2 seconds, and then it died. It had a stroke and didn't come back. So for the guys that they want to go and talk about how crypto, it's underperforming and this and that, this is when kings are made. We are in the king maker hours. These are the hours in which the risk to reward has finally flipped. Imagine a scenario in which Bitcoin goes to $30,000. Does anybody really think that's possible? I mean, seriously, think about just how money, you can do this yourself. You go to CoinGecko, you look at the top treasury companies. Look at this guy. This guy has $46 billion worth of Bitcoin. Boom, right there. $46 billion worth of Bitcoin. He bought it all last year and he's going to keep buying Bitcoin. You think this guy is going to magically disappear? No, MicroStrategy is not going to be going anywhere. And these are the guys that are going to be propping up the market next time come around. So for the guys that are saying, oh, but we're going to be going right back to where we were in 2022, where we hit a $15,000, $16,000 Bitcoin. How is that even possible in this new environment? There's just no way. There's too much money in the market. And so the fact is that we're closer than ever to a bottom. We are going through the worst sentiment that I've ever seen. I'm looking at YouTubers, I'm talking to them, and do you know what they're telling me? Do you think they're telling me the same thing that you're hearing right now? Let's be honest. Do you think like we go to our therapy sessions with creators? Like I find another XRP YouTuber or something like that. I talk to him and he goes, you know, Jesus, this is the time to buy the dip. No. They don't do that. They go, man, this sucks. Because it does suck. Like the price of the coin's down. But they also tell me, hey, I'm buying more. I'm buying more because I don't care. And that's why we end up winning in the end. And that's why these treasury companies are going to win in the end. That's the truth of the matter. For the guys that see long term, I still remember when Bitcoin hit $120,000, everybody was going crazy, giving price predictions 200K plus. Yeah, it ages poorly now, but is it going to age poorly in 12, 16, 24 months? I mean, that's the question you got to be asking yourself. And more than likely, I mean, they're going to end up being right. Are all the altcoins that you see down this list going to be coming back up? No. They're not going to be coming back up. But when it comes to Bitcoin, we have a couple things going in our favor that are great. And for the guys that say, oh, you know, I wish I bought Bitcoin at $1,000. I wish I bought more Bitcoin at $30,000 when I first got into crypto. Well, this is the lowest that crypto has been since the last major catalyst, which was the Trump inauguration. When the Trump inauguration happened, we went crazy. And so for the people that want to go and say, oh, but, you know, crypto right now, it sucks and people aren't happy about it. Well, yeah, and people were not happy about Bitcoin when it hit $16,000, and yet the people that bought were really happy come 12 months down the line. And so for the guys that say, oh, I wish I bought Bitcoin at 1,000 or XRP at 10 cents or HBAR at a tenth of a cent. Well, this is pretty low. I know a lot of guys that go, you know, if I look at HBAR, it's at 4 cents. That's very attractive. I wish I could have bought HBAR at 4 cents. I got so many of those comments. I don't see anyone saying that anymore. People are just complaining about the market. I'm like, we're investors, right? We're not here to have a therapy session. That's not how this works. I think buying into fear is the number one way to make money in crypto. That's the truth of the matter. Most people will not listen because they are filled with emotions. And I, quite frankly, do not have emotions at this point in crypto. I've been through too much. We've been through way too much. I've round tripped millions of dollars. Like, I do not care anymore. I simply trade to trade, and that is it. That is it. That's all that matters. I did like $30,000 worth of meme coins on HBAR. I got my money. I got out. I went to another market, It just kept going and going and going and going because I don't really care anymore. You need to trade the markets for what they are. And they're at a clear value proposition. The odds that Bitcoin goes down another 50% are not very high. The odds that Bitcoin can go down to $55,000, $58,000, pretty good. Does it really go down much more than that? And so like a 10 to 20% drawdown right now would be pretty solid. I mean, that would be probably as far down as it goes. Bitcoin's already down 50%. And so I am a buyer in this market. I'm a hell of a buyer in this market. And, you know, if you're not a buyer in this market, you definitely haven't been here because, I mean, how beautiful is this? This is the most beautiful chart I've ever seen. I've been buying stocks recently, and I've been noticing the same thing. The stocks are also going down. Everything's going down. I saw a couple posts here talking about a possible recession is coming. Everything's going to collapse. But also, I remember last bottom, people were saying the same thing. They were saying, oh, but, you know, it doesn't look like Bitcoin has any legs, and people are just selling, and the sentiment was really bad. The guys that were bullish were starting to give bear predictions. That's when you really know it's bad. When the guys that were bullish start giving you bear predictions, that's when you really know it's bad. And that's what I'm starting to see. And so I am not going to be like, oh, I'm so sad that, you know, some of my bags are down. I'm going to buy the dip. That's what I'm going to be doing. Look at this post. This is our Arthur Hayes back in November 25th, 2018. So that's back in 2018. He said 2 MFing digits. Hashtag Ether. This is the chart for Ethereum back in 2018. Yeah, the coin was at $99. It was at $99 a coin. Right now, even through the crash that we're currently experiencing, it is at $1,930. Is it really that bad? I don't know. So I like to go live every now and then to kind of remind people what in the world is going on. Like, has anything fundamentally changed for anyone? You can look at the odds for some of the bills that are coming in crypto. For example, the Clarity Act, which is the next big one. So the Clarity Act has pretty decent odds of coming through in 2026. The prediction markets are giving it about a 62% chance right now of coming into law. This is the next step for crypto. You know, if we get this, that's going to be a big day for crypto. It's going to be a big moment for crypto because we're finally going to have clarity. The name implies clarity, right? So we get clarity, and that's exactly what we need. That's very bullish. And so my idea is that sometime in 2026, I think the odds are going to start shifting somewhere around mid-year, and then that's when the markets are going to bottom. The biggest fear that we have in the market right now is the midterms and the Fed chair. So the Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, he is historically hawkish, which means that he does not like to do rate cuts. However, if you look into the odds that people are predicting right now for rate cuts, they are starting to shift. So people are starting to actually predict a shift and a possible rate cut. So there was a no change odd of about 91%. Right now, it's at 79%. So still very high odds, but that's starting to shift. In April, the odds are a little bit more even, 72%. And in June, that's when we're starting to really see rate cuts. We're going to be seeing, 52% odds of a rate cut come June. So more than likely, sometime mid-year, we're going to be getting a cut also aligning with the midterms. What's up, Oscar? What's good? What's good? Welcome, 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 my friend. This is what is, to me, my favorite XRP YouTuber. My friends, make sure you go over to Oscar's channel. If you're watching this afterward, go to Oscar's channel, show him some love. This is a guy that's been covering XRP since that coin was under 30 cents. I mean, that coin was dead, and Oscar was out there telling people to buy. The coin goes up to over $3, and that legend, absolute legend, continues to cover XRP for the masses. So big shout out to Oscar. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. But anyway, going back into everything, guys, Fed decision in June is what I'm looking at. Q3, Q4 is a macro bottom for the markets. Anything in between is uncertain, and uncertainty is not good for the markets. Nobody likes that at all. Kevin Warsh hasn't gone ahead and had his first ever rate cut call. And so we're kind of like, I don't know what's going to be coming next. And from my POV, I don't like that either as a trader, but I like that as an investor. As a trader, I'm confused, but as an investor, I'm like, well, it seems like because everybody is so uncertain and nobody really knows what's coming next, this is the time to be locking the hell in. And so this is a key value point for anybody getting into crypto. 64,000 to 65,000 is a historic high for 2021. In 2021, we saw, what, $68,000 on crypto? That was the all-time high. After we hit $68,000, I mean, we were cooking. We were cooking for a bit, but then we died because we had a macro bear. And what's happening right now is it's a weird timeline, but I think it's kind of a conventional bear market. So right now we are in the final phase of a bull market, which is the wealth destruction phase. So we've clearly led into a bear market. We are in a bear market. You know, nobody's trying to become a guru and say, oh, guys, I'm predicting a bear market, because we are in a bear market. It is what it is. However, bear markets have a macro low about 3 to 6 months. Oscar, if you're still here, we started covering Terra Luna Classic. We became very big Lunk YouTubers after the crash of the FTX exchange. And sorry, excuse me, I'm way jumping right now. After the collapse of Luna because of the stablecoin UST. Now, that was the start of the macro bear market. And it took about 3 to 6 months before we'd hit the bottom, and that was the FTX crash. I actually have a similar theory where I think there is an exchange that's been insolvent for some time. I've been talking about this since Bitcoin was at like $100,000. We just haven't really seen it in the markets, and I don't actually think we're going to know which exchange is going to be the one that's collapsing right now for some time. So we're kind of just waiting out the clock. They're probably trading against users. They're probably doing the typical crypto shenanigans that we've come to know and love. Of course, we love when the price of Bitcoin is manipulated heavily. But even worse this cycle is the fact that big money is here. So because big money is here, they have made Bitcoin into kind of a scam. They have created an environment where they can use the same asset for multiple things. Sorry, look at Bitcoin. Of course. Look at Bitcoin. I was actually on the Bitcoin tab. I just didn't change. I need to change this thing. How do you even do this? Actually, boomer. Hold on. I'm going to fix this. Window. Okay, I think I fixed it now. So if I go over here, okay, cool. But anyway, I think they kind of made Bitcoin into a scam. Let me put my Epic pen over here. Big drops. Yeah, no, we're getting dumped on right now. So here is what Bitcoin used to be. And let's go. I think yellow's okay. So old Bitcoin. I got the tablet out for this and everything. I think I need to share my screen if we're going to get that. Share entire screen. Okay. Anyway, so old Bitcoin had futures, and that was about it. I would say other than futures, we had yield. That was probably it. You know, the reason that we had macro bears, which was the threat, is because of leverage. You know, everybody knows about leverage. There's too much leverage in the system. There's too much leverage in crypto, and that's why the price of crypto tends to move more than other markets. I went to school for economics, and the one thing we learned, my friend, is that leverage is not a good thing for markets if you are an investor. It's a good thing if you're a trader, but not a good thing at all if you're an investor. So the new Bitcoin, if you're looking at new Bitcoin's kind of grifty because it's not limited anymore. It's limited. It is limited from the settlement perspective. So when you're actually settling a trade, it is limited. You know, there's a limited amount of Bitcoin, but you can use the same Bitcoin for multiple things. So, I mean, you could do like credit swaps. You can tokenize it, the same Bitcoin. You can, like I said, you could futures, you could do leverage. There's just a lot of things now that you can add on to the old things that you did with Bitcoin. So the same Bitcoin is being used for multiple things, which is creating a lot more disparity in what the markets are normally used to having. And why I think that the current bear cycle, well, happened faster than we thought. Also, at the same time, you got to think about the fact that DAT companies created an environment that only bought. They only bought. They didn't sell. None of these guys sold. And they didn't care about what price they ended up buying at. They just bought. They were price agnostic. That's what that means. Price agnostic means you don't care about the price of Bitcoin when you buy it. You just buy it no matter what price it's at. And so traders were all over this stuff. They love it. You know, of course, if you're someone that's stacking long-term, you don't love it so much because, you know, the market has bias and traders are trading heavily against it. And so what happened here? What's the big problem here? Too much leverage. This is what happens every single cycle. Leverage. We hit new highs because of it, but we also get a massive continuous cascade afterward until, well, we get into a market that's boring. We need it to be boring. We need to get into a range, which it was in a range for some time, which I think it was a range over here. And then it just fell again. It just fell again and again and again. So we need one of these ranges to hold in order for us to keep moving back up. I think JP Morgan went ahead and said today that Bitcoin as a long-term trade is starting to look more attractive than gold. Imagine gold's at over $4,000 right now versus Bitcoin's at $64,000. I believe the fair value of Bitcoin is somewhere around $40,000. And so at the very worst situation, you know, if we went to 2022 bear market situation, we would probably hit a scenario in which Bitcoin would hit that number, right? That's like, if we historically went by the logic of normal bear markets, we would hit like 40,000 Bitcoin. However, because of crypto treasury companies, we've kind of set a higher floor than normal. And we should be expecting diminishing volatility. So volatility is not going to be as big as previous cycles. It's just not going to be as big as previous cycles. And we've already had 50% on our correction. And so if we're following the rules of how the cycle should perform, we should be pretty close to a bottom. We should be very close to a bottom. I see macro traders are trading for $58,000 on Bitcoin. It's just we're really close. And so I'm starting to buy pretty hard into these levels specifically. You know, I wasn't buying at 70,000 Bitcoin. I wasn't buying at 75,000. I'm buying now because the risk reward I think is attractive for me. And so I see these times as like, it sucks because I round tripped a bunch of bags. I round tripped a bunch of plays that I invested into. But that's the game. It kind of is what it is. Every cycle, people learn that they should be investing into bigger and bigger coins because these coins, more than likely, when the market does turn around, these coins end up going even higher. And we saw it with XRP. We saw it with HBAR. We see it with Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. But of course, you know, they also have bottoms, and these bottoms tend to retouch previous highs, which right now is exactly what we're seeing. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Feel free to go ahead, leave questions in the comments. I'm always happy to go ahead and read comments. There are a lot of spam bots that are currently hitting my comment section that I keep seeing. I think they're very annoying. A lot of you guys ask very good questions. I try to take the time every day to answer them. I even learn things myself from some of the comments that I read. So I'm always very happy to see when people do engage. So feel free to go ahead and do that. But overall, just kind of a pretty boring time if you're someone that's long-term investing, and a very scary time if you're short-term. If you're short-term, if you have leverage, very, 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 very scary. I'm looking for longs at 58. I'm looking for longs on Bitcoin at 58. That's what I'm looking at. I already have my limit orders on XRP, which I covered See if I can do this on my tablet. I covered this very, very, very recently. Let's go to my channel. Click this over here. Slap this over here. So my limit orders were at $1.20, which, as you can see, very much hit. For the guys that didn't expect XRP to go down as low as it went, I mean, that's exactly the target that I had. A Bitcoin correction target of 60 to 65,000 would produce $1.20 on XRP, which is exactly what we're seeing. I mean, that's literally like $1.17, $63,000 Bitcoin. When Bitcoin was 65, we hit $1.20 on XRP. So pretty much exactly what I thought was going to happen is happening here. $1.20 on XRP on our initial position DCAing is pretty solid. I want to see XRP break under $1 for my next DCA if I'm going to be DCAing, because that's the only other scenario. I mean, I don't see $1.10 holding. If we go to 58, 55 on Bitcoin, we're going to see $1 or sub $1 on XRP. So those are kind of the levels that I'm looking at for DCAing. For HBAR, I'm looking at the 5-cent level, the 4 to 5 cent level. Anything else is kind of a waste of time, in my opinion. There's no key support until you hit 4 cents. That's just a historic support level for HBAR. And I look very, 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 very long time horizons. I'm looking at the last run. That's 4 cents. So we hit 4 cents. That's going to be very good for us. Anything else, it's kind of cooked. It's kind of cooked. So a key support level, if we do hit, is 4 cents, and a key resistance level is 10 cents. 10 cents has been where the market makers have been defending HBAR for some time. If we see a sustained break above 10 cents, that's also a really good level to continue to buy into HBAR. So we're looking at 10 cents. We're looking at 4 cents for HBAR. For XRP, we're looking under $1. We're looking at under $1. We already did a limit order today at $1.20, which is the pretty much current price of XRP. I don't think $1.10 is really a level at all. Let's see what everybody's saying over here on our poll. I haven't looked at it yet. So I asked, you could go ahead and answer for yourself if you'd like. When is the XRP bottom? We have 17 votes here. So today, which is $1.20, we have 18% of the votes saying that today is going to be the bottom for XRP. We have 24% saying that $1.10 is the bottom for XRP. And for $1 and below, most of you have the general consensus that we're going to be seeing in under $1 XRP. Buy the dip, question mark. Maybe. I mean, I have been right on my buy the dip predictions, but also I've never been right on the timing. I've been right on the consensus trade of like eventually it's going to go up, but I never time it right. I don't pretend to time things right. I'm not going to tell people, oh, at $1.02, that's going to be the exact bottom, because I don't know when people are going to stop pressing the sell button and more people are going to start buying the buy button. It's just something you can't predict. So I never get my timing right. I always get it wrong. But the consensus, over a given enough time frame, over a long enough time frame, yeah, like we cook. But yeah, 25% in a day. Yeesh. We didn't think it would get worse than that. 13%. Oh God. There is actually a prediction market out there predicting that Tether is going to pass Ethereum in market cap. I actually think that's probably going to happen. I mean, that's $185 billion to $225 billion. That's not a lot of a crash. It's a 20% correction from here for Tether to pass Ethereum, and Tether's probably going to continue to grow. For the guys that are trying to say that the domino theory is just going to accelerate here because of the crash, because the only reason the domino theory would happen is because of a crypto crash or because of a macro crash, I don't see it. I don't see the domino theory being at play here. I think that's something that's going to happen way into the future. Not something that's going to be happening right now. But still, yet, we continue to cook. Bitcoin RSI is the most oversold since 2023. Absolutely crazy time in the crypto markets. It is now February 6th, which means it's been 2 full years without a Solana outage. I mean, isn't that cool? We have some blockchains doing better than they've ever been doing. And then people like to say, oh, but crypto's gone nowhere. If the technology's gotten a lot better, people just like to go ahead and talk about the price. But the tech is just, it's not even close to where it was before. Bottom is 25K. Yeah, no way. I don't see 25K. I don't think that makes any sense. Elon Musk has become the first person in history to surpass an $800 billion net worth following the merger of SpaceX and XAI, which significantly boosted the combined company's valuation. Very, very interesting. The Bitcoin MVRV score. Oh, it's saying the time's coming. It is saying the time is coming. The bottom is close, but it's not here. If you follow the MVRV Z-score to understand, we need to hit 0. Once we hit 0, once we go below negative, that's kind of like, that's a clear bottom signal. Very, 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 very clear bottom signal. Until we hit that, though, no bottom. And so he's kind of predicting what, like 45,000 for Bitcoin. That's what Benjamin Cohen. Bitcoin is down 50% from highs. I know he's been pretty bearish on Bitcoin here for some time, but that's like 45,000 on Bitcoin. People are so bearish. They're so bearish right now. This is so painful to watch. Everybody's cooked. Are you tired of winning? Are you tired of winning, son? That is how I feel right now. Yo, I saw recently, it was Trump was flexing about the fact that he got into crypto and made crypto great. Listen, I don't know what the price of Bitcoin would have been if Kamala came, but not the time. Not the time at all to be talking bullish about the crypto markets. It's not looking good at all. I want to know how the crypto bros feel about Trump right now. Therapist super cycle. I love that. People are so cooked right now. U.S. crypto bill hits a wall. The White House just drew a hard red line on the crypto market structure bill. The Trump administration wants it passed fast, but refuses any ethics provisions that would restrict the president or his family's crypto businesses. Bitcoin and Ethereum is now hanging by a thread. I love how they always spin it. They love to spin it. Yeah, it's the ethics. What does that have anything to do with Bitcoin? What are the ethics provision? What does that have anything to do with Bitcoin? Absolutely insane. All right, let's see. Crypto as we know it is over. It's time to look at the abyss and stop acting like this industry will in any way recover if the leaders continue to act like everything is fine and the 50th perps deck solve this. The death of the crypto VC sector is slowly unfolding. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot less VCs are looking into the crypto industry right now. Like if you're trying to get funding right now, it's been really hard since the beginning of last year. The beginning of the last year, we didn't really have any TGEs that were a slam dunk. Typically speaking, you need to have very strong price performance on one TGE inside of your niche to get funding. And so for gaming, for example, that project was Portal. So Portal was the big project for gaming that ended up giving billions of dollars of funding for the industry. But the sad fact is right after TGE, the coin went down only, which killed funding, future funding for projects. So the funding was really nice when this project launched. A bunch of projects got funding, but because it kind of died out, the consensus trade died as well with it. So we really need to see new projects launch and sustain valuations in order to be bullish. A couple people are calling for the bottom on coins like Seeker, for example. You know, Seeker had a massive comeback today. It's still down, what, 50% from highs. So people are they're very uncertain on trading anything but Bitcoin. Everybody's very uncertain on everything but Bitcoin right now, which I kind of agree. I mean, I'm still stacking my long-term plays like HBAR XRP. But of course, like the main bag is obviously going to be stuff like Bitcoin. Looking at other markets right now, let's look at the meme coins. Are the meme coins alive? People are still buying these? The white whale. That one looks like it's been cooking. That one came back, didn't it? Look at that. Interesting. The only one here that people have been buying. What have people been buying? Yeah, I don't know any of them. They're kind of cooked right now. And then what, AI? BitTensor's been a big one. Everybody's bullish on BitTensor. Damn, even BitTensor is down 16%. That's crazy. Look at this chart. Ugh. Oh, not looking good. Ugh. And then gaming. Yeah, no, everything's dead in gaming right now. Axie Infinity's token was doing pretty well for a bit, though. If you look at the token, look at this. Look at this. It started going up, and then the market just died, and all that momentum died with it. Those coins are heavily controlled by market makers, by people that have a lot of the supply. So anything smaller than like 500 million, no, I would even say anything smaller than $1 billion market cap can be heavily manipulated, and it's probably being heavily manipulated by players that own it. That, you know, whales with a large amount of the supply, they probably more than manipulate it. I guess Wall Street is probably doing that with Bitcoin as well. It's just a lot harder to do it with Bitcoin. $1 trillion, you have to move a lot more capital than people have to move with some of the smaller altcoins. You'll randomly see them move spike 50% and then go right down. A good example of that would be Mavia. Mavia has this all the time where it'll randomly just pump. Look at this. Just randomly pumps and dies instantly. Pump, die instantly. Pump, die instantly. Pump, die instantly. It's all manipulated. This is all manipulated. All of it's manipulated. So if you're a long-term investor, yeah, anything under $1 billion is probably too risky in the crypto markets for long-term positions because it's too manipulated. You know, fair valuation under a bill is like, it is really hard to time. It's almost impossible to time unless you like very clearly have found a unicorn. But that's like investing into penny stocks. You know, if you're investing into penny stocks, sure, you might get lucky, but I mean, the odds are just not in your favor at all. But it's definitely in your favor if you're looking at the big boys. If you're buying the S&P 500, you know, eventually you're going to be up and to the right. And so that's essentially a bit of an update on the crypto markets. If you guys have any questions, my friends, feel free to go ahead, leave them right now. I'm going to give it a minute or two to see if any questions pop in. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. I don't have anything to ask of you, just that you gave your time to go ahead and listen to my current thesis in the crypto markets. I always appreciate that. You know, it's like I had a conversation recently with another content creator because I'm at kind of a point where technically, you know, if we didn't feel like working, we don't have to work. But also, humans are going to be going into a world in which we don't really have to work. So what do I mean by that? When I hit 21, I got my own business. So I started my own company, right? And that company has led me to where I am today. But most people, of course, they work 9 to 5s. They work a regular job. You probably work a regular job. AI is going to be taking those away, though. You know, AI is going to be destroying everything we know about jobs. It's clear as day. I use AI more than ever in my business personally. It's made me incredibly efficient. If you are still using ChatGPT, then you're behind. I'm sorry, but you're very behind in the AI world. You should be using Gemini and Claude. Gemini and Claude are two of the best AIs in the world right now. Not even close. Claude is amazing for coding. If you need to make presentations, which I've been using on my videos, I fact check them, of course. And then Gemini is for asking more general questions and analyzing any Google products. So if you want to analyze Google Trends, or you want to analyze YouTube, if you want to find transcripts for videos, then that's an amazing resource to go ahead and use. So, you know, I have kind of come to the conclusion that people aren't really going to have to work in a couple years, but they're going to have to fill in the time at some point because GDPs, money in general, it's just going to become irrelevant. And I've been kind of tackling that question myself because, you know, I'm kind of in the same state where I technically don't clock in at a certain time. I don't clock out at a certain time. I just clock in general whenever I feel like it. And for like 6 months, I didn't work at all. You know, I was just kind of making slot videos and then just doing other things in my life. But then I got really bored. You know, you were kind of seeking meaning at some point. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm seeking that meaning. I'm seeking, you know, how I can continue to add value to people's lives. And from what I've seen, the best way of doing that has been, you know, making content the way that I'm currently making, getting connections. You know, we did millions of dollars worth of campaigns for crypto brands. And I was able to do that through the connections that I got from my socials. And that's, you know, I've been able to grow my network behind the scenes. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I hope this live stream was useful for you, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. That's going to be the live. Stay classy. I got to go to the gym. And that is all. By the dip, by the dip.